All right, so this is sort of going to be expanding on what I talked about in the Sargon Steven Crowder video. And it's seemingly more clear, more and more clear, I should say, that Jesus and the Bible is inherently anti-capitalist. And I'm going to start to make the case and sort of elaborate on this because there, again, I'm not even going to be able to coming close to all of the verses here. And you guys can let me know your thoughts on this after listening to the video. Make sure you listen to the video first. Don't leave your comment before hearing the video. But there's a essentially unlimited list of verses that are anti-capitalist in one way or another. But I just have some here that I'm gonna talk about here. So Jesus, of course, was very, very. He's pretty much a commie before it existed. I mean, the guy was talking about, like in Luke 14:33, he says, "In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples." Pretty clear to me. Pretty clear to me what that means. So that gives you the point. He cared about the poor. He cared about the refugees. He cared about sick people, etc., etc. So the beginning for this whole thing, the foundation is, and there's going to be another thing that I feel is a pretty strong argument for it as well. But the foundation of this is Matthew 19:24. It says, "Again, I tell you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of God." So essentially what that's saying is it's very, very difficult for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. So what that means is you don't want to be rich to ensure that you go into heaven. That's what that's saying. That's from the perspective of a capitalist, someone who's trying to be rich, that is the most charitable interpretation of that, because you could go as far as to say, well, it means that it's basically impossible to go to heaven as a rich man. That's an also possible interpretation. But if we were to be generous and kind here, we could put it in a way of saying, if you wanted to ensure that you can go to heaven, you would make sure that you're not rich. That's the most charitable thing. So that's a very important one because, again, we see that the right wing is all about getting rich, and that's pretty much a lot of young right wingers legitimately believe they're going to be rich in the future, which is a lot of the reason why they vote for them. But anyways, there's this other verse that is really, really a powerful one. This is Matthew 6:24. This, I think, is even a stronger one than 19:24 in Matthew. This Matthew 6:24 says, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." So this one I had posted, and some of the rebuttals from Christian capitalists was basically, oh, well, you're not serving two masters. Well, first let me say that this is pretty clear in what it's saying. It literally says, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. So capitalism is predicated on trying to get rich and make more money. You are legitimately serving the interest of making money. Now, I would argue that anybody in the capitalist system is serving money, because you are in a system of, basically, if you think about it in an abstract sense, you're in this sort of slavery sense in terms of if you want to make a living. Because if you don't work and to make money, if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to live. You're not going to be able to afford housing. You're not going to be able to afford medical bills. You won't be able to afford jack shit. So in a capitalistic system, you're by default serving money, because your literal entire life, you're working 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, full time, dedicating your entire life. By the way, Christians, not only the right wing wants to raise the retirement age, just so you guys know. So you're devoting your entire life to making money. I think that qualifies as serving money. Okay, I think that is totally undebatable. I should say uncontroversial to say so, that devoting your entire life to money, and the vast majority, especially of the Republicans in the right wing, but Christians in general, they do want to strike it rich. I would say a majority of people would like to do that if they could. Now, there's a difference between whether or not you're striving to do that. I would say most Republicans are definitely striving to do that. So there's no doubt in my mind that at least the Republican right wing are striving for money. But in a capitalist system, you have to, you're in a system where you have to work, full time to make ends meet. And so you're serving money. I'm making the argument that you're serving money. So I think that the Bible and Christianity is inherently anti-capitalist. I truly believe so because of this verse here and all the other verses that we've seen. In Acts 4:32 through 4:35, it says, all the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possessions was their own, but they shared everything they had, that there was no needy persons among them. For from time to time, those who owned land or houses sold them, brought the money from the sales and put it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to anyone who had need. That screams communism. Are you kidding me? That is communism in a description without the word communism. Are you kidding me? It's hilarious. Let me read that to you again. This is Acts 4:32 through 4:35. It says, all the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possessions was their own. None, but they shared everything they had. No one claimed that any of their possessions was their own. That's basically saying the private property rights don't exist. I'm pretty sure it's a tenet of capitalism that it is, that you do have a right to private property. And then it says, but they shared everything they had. That would make conservatives' heads explode. And then it goes on to say that there were no needy persons among them. For from time to time, those who owned land or houses sold them, brought the money from the sales, and put it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to anyone who had need. Are you kidding me? This screams far left economic systems without saying it, without saying that term. That's what this is screaming to me. Okay? I can't even believe this. This Act 4 through 432 through 435 is screaming far left economic systems. I can't believe it. It's insane. I can't understand how you could possibly be a capitalist while being a Christian. Those two cannot coincide. It's impossible. It's simply impossible. I'm trying to tell you this. I find the rebuttal to the Matthew 6:24 argument of, oh, well, you just can't serve money. Like, I think in a capitalist system, everyone serves money. Every single person in the United States of America is serving money because you're spending 24 hours a day thinking about money while you're sleeping, while you're awake. I need to make sure I make money to pay my bills, to pay my house bill, my electric bill, my car bill, everything. Everything revolves around money. Therefore, you serve money. I 100% believe that is true, and B, I believe that it's uncontroversial to say so. If you live in a capitalistic system, you are serving money. Your entire life is dedicated to making money because that's the only way you can live. So I definitely do, people are trying to say, oh, well, in the capitalist system, it's not, you're not serving. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. What are you talking about? You're effectively in a system of wage slavery where you're basically in a system where you have to work. Like you don't have a choice unless you want to be broke, which nobody fucking wants to do. No one wants to be broke. Life broke sucks ass. So you're in a system where you're forced to serve money because you need to pay your bills. You need to live. So I think that Matthew 19:24 and Matthew 6:24 set up a good foundation. And then I read to you guys the Acts 4:32 through 4:35, which is just communism, just screaming fucking communism. No one claimed that any of their possessions was their own, but they shared everything they had. Here's something else that someone pointed out to me in the comment section of that video that I found really enlightening. So Crowder was giving a blowjob to all the rich people, giving like some tiny fractions of their wealth away. And so when rich people give the money, like big chunks of money away, it looks like a lot, but to them, percentage-wise, it's nothing. And whenever you respond to something like that, you get some total like random response for some triggered conservative because they think they're going to be rich in the future. But here's what Mark 12:41 through 44 said. This is the fuck. I'm so glad this person shared this verse to me because now anytime that a Republican uses this argument, I'm just going to put Jesus's quote in their face. And pitting Jesus against a conservative is legitimately the best thing you could possibly do. Here's what it says. It says, Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd put their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins worth only a few cents. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, quote, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on." So this is obviously very common sense, thinking like, okay, someone who's uber rich gives away $1 million, but that's like a tiny fraction of a percent of how much money they have. It's not anything compared to that person as it is to someone who donates like let's say $100 or $1,000 for a normal person. It's a massive difference. So anytime that, I remember this specifically because I remember Trump. I don't even know if Trump ever actually donated the $1 million he promised to donate. I forgot where he promised to donate it to. So it was around the time, I believe, of one of the hurricanes. I forgot though. And, people were responding to that saying, oh, like $1 million for Angry Buffoon is nothing because he was spoon fed by his daddy. And then they go, oh, well, do you have $1 million to give away? You know what the response is now? Pit them against Jesus, dude. Let's see how that works out for them, because now it's going to be conservative infighting amongst a conservative and Jesus who they don't know is a fucking communist. But that's the beginning of my case for why Christianity and capitalism are not able to coexist. I may expand on this again later on if I have more mounting evidence of this case, but this is the first layer. But I think it's a pretty damn strong one. I'm curious to see your thoughts down below in the comments section. Again, I think that I already addressed one of the criticisms or one of the rebuttals of Matthew 6:24, where it's trying to say that capitalism isn't serving money. I wholeheartedly disagree, and I don't think it's even debatable. It's just objectively true that you serve money because every day of your life is spent worrying about making money to make ends meet. And I think that it's a horrible, horrible argument, not rooted in fact whatsoever, to make the claim that that your life is not run by money. Everyone's life is run by money in a capitalist system. You have to serve money, otherwise you're not going to live. So anyway, again, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Super interesting topic.